I'm Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today, and this is Capitol Download. We're at the studios of WAMU with John Dean. He was the young White House counsel in the Nixon administration, whose testimony led to President Richard Nixon's resignation almost exactly 40 years ago. Welcome to Capitol Download.
Thank you.
You have a new book, The Nixon Defense. It goes on sale Tuesday. Its publication timed to coincide with this 40th anniversary of Richard Nixon's resignation. Now, with the benefit of these new tapes and 40 years of study, when did the president know about the Watergate break-in? Did he know about it before it happened?
No, I don't think he had any advance knowledge there was going to be a break-in. It's clear to me that he's worried whether he indeed did order the Watergate break-in, because he's ordered other break-ins. He ordered, on 3 occasions, they break in the Brookings Institute. It turns out he did not order it, and there's no links, but he creates an atmosphere, obviously, in which people like Liddy and Hunt think this is acceptable behavior.
We ask on Twitter for reader questions, and here's one that was sent from Denny Friedenrich on Twitter. He said, has John Dean ever visited the Nixon Presidential Library? If so, how does he feel about the way Watergate is presented there? Have you visited that?
I have, and the funny thing is, the day I went, took a friend who was visiting in California, and he walks in, he spots Carl Bernstein, who he'd recognized. And he walks over and talks.
Who's visiting the library at the same time?
Visiting the library at the same time. And he tells Carl, I'm here with John Dean. And Carl says, I don't believe it, I'm here with Bob Woodward. And of course the Nixon Foundation, who is still terribly pro-Nixon and somewhat apologetic about everything he might have done, thinks this is some master conspiracy that Woodward and Bernstein and Dean all show up at this library on the same weekend day.
Here's what some people say. They say, you know, Richard Nixon was a pretty good president, Watergate aside. What do you say to them?
Well, Stanley Cutler and I had this conversation one time when Stanley told me that his well-known historian was going to do Nixon without Watergate. And Stanley's comment was, well, this is like Hitler without the Holocaust. And I said to Stanley, that may be an overstatement, but you know, there are very strong historical legacies from Nixon that are good. What I'm wondering now, after this last drill and watching his decision-making in Watergate, how different was it in other areas? And I think other scholars are going to have to ask that question. This couldn't have been just isolated. And this is very troubling. It would actually mean that Kissinger was much more important in China than Nixon really wants to give him credit for. It means the resolution of the war in Vietnam, Kissinger may have been a restraining force. So I think we're going to have to reassess, because this is such a glaring, you know, what became, and he knew then, was a huge problem, is so mishandled. Combination of character and just bad decisions.
You lost your law license as a result of your involvement.
Turn them in.
Do you want to get it back? Will you try to get it back now?
At 75, I'm not about to start on a new legal career. A lot of people have suggested I do it because I teach a Watergate, what they call continuing legal education seminar, that we can draw on this history, which still interests a lot of people, particularly lawyers. Some 20 lawyers got on the wrong side of the law during Watergate. So there's a rich book there of what not to do.
At 75, it's not that you want to open a law office.
No.
You might feel some vindication for the last 40 years of your life. Do you think you'd like to get it back?
It's something I've mulled. Let's put it that way.
And you're mulling it now?
I'm still mulling it. Any
regrets, though, that you ever met Richard Nixon?
No. He's a great character. He's a wonderful character. I can't say I agree. There's some really candid stuff in there where he takes his assessment of me, which was much different than I thought. Says some awfully nice things. But he misjudged me, and I misjudged him. He thought I would roll with this kind of thing, and he could have somebody who would play the game that I didn't believe should be played. And we misread each other.
John Dean, thanks for joining us on Capitol Download.
Thank you, Susan.